What is up, y'all? My name is Ryan. I'm a CPA. Today is Wednesday, June 10th, and I'm going to be talking about the EIDL loan, some new stuff that I've learned, and also to answer some of the questions that I've received in my comment section. But first, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel to keep up to date with all the stuff that's happening daily. And also, please hit that like button, or if you want, you can smash that like button, for the YouTube algorithms to do its thing and to get us more visibility. That would help out tremendously. Also, in the comments below, please let me know how you're doing, how your city is doing. Keep me up to date with your business. If I've answered your questions before about your business specifically, just keep me up to date. I'd like to know, and I do my best to answer all the comments. Also, in the description below, I'm going to have a link to my Facebook group, and that's just a community that I've made to kind of help support everybody in this crisis. And I keep people up to date there as well, and other people are answering questions and helping other folks, so it's a great community. Check it out, join the group, it's in the description. So the first question I've been getting is, can you pay back your EIDL loan early, or can you pay back a part of it early? And the answer is yes, you can. There's no actual prepayment penalty, as it states on the loan documents that you won't be penalized for paying back early, and I'm sure the SBA would even appreciate it. How do you do that? Well, as you know, the SBA automatically defers payments through at least December 31st, 2020. But I know that if you go to pay.gov, the website, pay.gov, and you click on the 1201 payments, that's section 1201 payments, that is where you would make payments toward your SBA loan. So the things you'll need is just your personal information and your loan number. Now, if you don't know your loan amount, then you have to call the SBA for that. Also, if you don't know your loan number, you have to call the SBA for that. I think those things are typically sent on the 1201 notices for payments, but since your payments are automatically deferred, you probably won't be receiving those anytime soon. Check with the SBA for your loan number, pay.gov if you want to return a loan or pay it back or whatever. But if you're trying to return a loan, be sure to just contact the SBA first. Their offices are open, I think, 24 hours a day right now. So call them first, let them know that you want to return your loan or you want to pay back some of it early. Just check with them before you do anything like that. Another big question I've been getting is, will the EIDL affect unemployment? And how I'm going to answer that is that it might affect unemployment, okay? Because and I say that because it's not going to automatically disqualify you from unemployment. I'm just saying it's, the way that you handle the use of the funds, it may disqualify you based on how you report to unemployment. So if you receive a loan and you don't use it to pay yourself, you use it to pay your other operating expenses for your business, that likely won't affect unemployment. But you receive a loan and you use it to pay yourself a salary or whatever, and you report that payment to the unemployment office, then it will most likely affect unemployment. And that all depends on your state, how much you're paying yourself, how often you're paying yourself, that kind of thing. And the other big questions I've been getting are kind of just like, what can you use the EIDL loan for? And I answered this in my previous video, but I just want to get into more details and cover more things that people have been asking me. So first thing you can use it for is to pay your credit cards. Now you can make the minimum payments on your credit cards. You can actually make the minimum payments on any debt that you have to float you through the crisis. But credit cards are a little bit more special, because if you had to use your credit card to keep your business afloat when businesses were starting to shut down, you can actually use your loan to pay off that credit card, since it's probably a ridiculously high interest rate. You can pay off your credit card as long as your credit card was used to float your business through the crisis. If you already had a credit card balance before the crisis, you can't pay that off. You can't refinance that credit card. The other questions I've been getting is, can you use the loan to pay for contractors and their commissions? And the answer is yes, you can. If these contractors are part of your normal operations, then they qualify as working capital expenses and you can pay them. You can pay your lease or your rent or your salaries, and keep in mind, you can only do that if you don't have the PPP, or if you do have the PPP, you've exhausted the PPP funds. Now you can use the EIDL to pay for your lease, rent, salaries, that kind of thing. You can also use it to pay for commissions for your employees, not just for your contractors, but for your employees. Insurance. I'm talking about liability, professional liability, errors and omissions, even health insurance, Delta, vision, but only if those plans are group plans. So if you have an individual plan through like your state's marketplace, that's not an eligible EIDL expense, okay? You got to have like a group plan for your company where it benefits multiple employees. That's the true business expense, and you can use the EIDL to pay for that. You can use it to buy inventory, supplies, office supplies, all those things to keep your business running. And as I mentioned before, if you have already outstanding loans, outstanding debt, like loans on equipment, long-term business loans, any of that stuff, you can make the minimum payments on those with the EIDL. You can't use the EIDL to pay one of those things off or refinance it, but you can make the minimum payments for it to keep your business floating through the crisis. And lastly, I read it on the SBA Disaster Relief Standard Operating Procedure, is that they will allow you to pay yourself an owner's draw or distribution as long as it's ordinary and essential. And I believe you still have to get written permission from the SBA to do that, but it's still, there's been a lot of question and fear among whether or not you can even take a distribution, especially if you're an S-Corp owner. But it says on the operating procedure that you can, and I would still recommend at least contacting the SBA and getting written permission to do that. The key thing here is that the distributions or owner's draws are ordinary and essential. That means you can't take the loan and just give yourself a huge distribution bonus or an owner's draw bonus. I mean, that's basically misappropriating funds. But if you have a consistent distribution that you normally take, that is allowable. What are things that you can't use the funds for? So as I mentioned before, you can't use it to pay off long-term debt. You can't use it to pay yourself a massive or unordinary distribution. You can't use it to buy equipment or any other types of fixed assets. And this comes with a little caveat, but generally equipment are like new vehicles, tenant improvements to your leased office space or leased space, a new HVAC machine or HVAC system, or any replacement assets. You can't use the EIDL funds for those things. So what can you do? What you can actually do is use your EIDL funds for the qualified expenses that I just mentioned earlier. And then as your business makes money, makes revenue, you can use that revenue to buy whatever the hell you want, okay? And this is where like keeping the money in a separate account really helps. Like it helps take away any ambiguity on whether or not you use the EIDL funds for these non-qualified expenses versus qualified expenses. Keeping it in a separate account will definitely help with that. So basically, if you have your EIDL and you're paying your normal expenses with that EIDL, you're basically saving money. So when you earn revenue, you're paying less of those expenses with your revenue, right? So as you earn revenue, you can use that revenue that you earned on whatever the hell you want. You can buy new equipment with it, you can do whatever. The key here is just separating those two sources of funding. So EIDL in a separate account, or if you're really good at accounting and stuff, you can have it in the same account, but just keep really, really clear accounting on your books to separate the two. Now I also have a slight update on the EIDL grant. Spoke with more SBA agents in the past week, and they have mentioned that they still intend on paying out the EIDL grants. They've just been slightly delayed, I think because they're starting to really process these loan applications. But they did say that they're intending to pay out the EIDL grants. Now, whether they're gonna pay the full $10,000 or not, I'm not sure. There's gonna be a hearing about that today, Wednesday, June 10th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, probably right when this video gets released to the public, my video. I'll have a link to that below in the description, and you'll probably be able to watch it later, I don't know. But it's gonna be a live broadcast in the link below. And they might address the grants issue, because people were seeing grants. It wasn't within 72 hours, but they were at least seeing grants all through April and some parts of May. And it seemed to have just kind of halted or gotten significantly slower. So hopefully they update everybody with that. And also, I've been seeing a lot of YouTubers claim that they've been able to get the full $10,000 EIDL grant as stated in the CARES Act by talking to the SBA or by negotiating with the loan officer or whatever. And I don't know, I'm not saying that they're lying. that's just not my experience. And I'm also a part of a community of about 400 or so CPAs that are all focused on helping their clients with the SBA, EIDL, and PPP stuff. And none of them have had success with, getting the full $10,000 grants, even though their clients only qualified for maybe 1,000 or 2,000 based on the employee calculation. None of them have had success in getting the full EIDL grants approved and paid. So these YouTubers also state that, in the CARES Act, it's written that there is a full $10,000 grant, but when I read it, it just says the grants shall not be more than $10,000, right? So the grant shall not be more than $10,000. What that means to me is that it can't be more than $10,000, but it can be any amount less than that. That's how I interpret it. Now, I understand the interpretation can be ambiguous here, or it can be taken differently. And that's why there's been numerous letters to senators and all that stuff to try to convince the SBA to give the full $10,000. I really have not heard anything firsthand experience about getting that approved, or about moving forward with that, or any updates on whether or not the full $10,000 grants will be allowed. Let me know what you think about that. Let me know if you think that it should be a full $10,000, or let me know how you interpret the wording in the CARES Act. I'd love to know your thoughts on that. As always, I could be wrong. That's just the way I interpreted it, but I could be wrong. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you have other resources to share to prove me wrong. Please share that with me. I would love to just make sure I'm getting out the correct information, or the most accurate information, because there obviously could be something I'm missing. That's all I got for today. Thanks for joining me. Please hit that like button. Please hit that subscribe button. Have a great rest of your week. I'll see you next time.